Hey everyone, welcome to the latest time limit audio edition. Today we'll be going over New Japan's Road to the New Beginning second night. This was the second night of the tour, but it was the first of it to actually be televised. They had an event on Sunday which did not air on New Japan World. This is the first of a double header in Korakuen Hall. They did a show tonight, Tuesday night in Korakuen Hall in Tokyo, and they're going to be back tomorrow night with a card. We're going to run through that card at the end of the show and go over a few future details. But first, we got some wrestling to talk about that happened this morning. We have a main event for the IWGP Junior Heavyweight Championship to discuss, plus an undercard full of tag matches, which I thought was actually there was some really interesting stuff going on in these lower tag matches, and we were expecting to see a singles match earlier in the night, but there was a bit of a complication there. We're going to get to that in a moment, but first let's talk about this main event here. So it was El Desperado looking to defend his IWGP Junior Heavyweight Championship for the first time since earning it at Wrestle Kingdom over Hiromu Takahashi. He was matched against House of Torture's Yoshinobu Kanemaru, really continuing what has this month been a lot of main event House of Torture programs. And if you're someone like me who's not too keen on House of Torture, you're not super excited about that. And as we know, there's going to be another House of Torture match coming up, and there's even more House of Torture coming in the future, as you'll soon learn. My biggest issue with every House of Torture match is how they're always overbooked with way too many interference spots and run-ins and things of that nature. And you just almost never see a House of Torture match where that doesn't happen. It almost makes it not believable when they try to convince you that there isn't going to be any sort of shenanigans. That's what they tried to do today. When Yoshinobu Kanemaru made his entrance, he made his entrance with all of House of Torture. But once El Desperado got in the ring, all of them went to the back, and I didn't necessarily catch it, but I think the referee ejected them. That would make sense. So this match was pretty decent. I'm gonna go through the sort of important moments here, and then we'll get into some thoughts. There was a moment early on where Kanemaru faked a knee injury. He sort of collapsed to the ground after a spot, and this was almost like a callback to a few months ago when there was that moment of him getting injured in a match, and it was blurry on whether that was a real injury or a fake injury or whatever. Anyways, he was playing possum here, so he used that injury to uh catch Desperado. We went a few minutes with no run-ins, but I wasn't gonna take the bait. I knew something was coming, and eventually something did come. We saw House of Torture run in as expected and try to interfere in the match, but they were quickly met with opposition as some wrestlers came in to do the save. We saw Shota Umino, who's in a House of Torture feud currently, and Hiroshi Tanahashi run in to make the save. It was funny when watching this. Umino ran in and did some wrestling and chased these guys off. Tanahashi did nothing. He came out there and sort of walked a little fast, and then followed them as they went backstage. I He just kind of showed up in this segment. He didn't really do much of an actual run in. Back in the ring, Desperado was really getting beaten up here by Kanemaru. He was throwing everything at him trying to get a finish. He did a moonsault onto Desperado's back and then locked in a Boston Crab to try to get a submission. He was hitting Desperado with a lot of things, but just couldn't get a finish. Desperado started to eventually get some momentum after reversing a suplex attempt. He got some there were some near falls with roll up attempts from Kanemaru, and these were really convincing ones. It was like a 2.99 type thing, uh, with the near falls where they were kicking out at the very last second. Desperado was able to put in the stretch muffler submission, but wasn't able to get a tap from it. Around this time, House of Torture came back for the second time and got the referee out of the way and then started doing a beatdown on Desperado. We got another run, and this time it was Tamatonga, who is leaving the promotion in a few days. He did the save, uh, got Evil out of there by teaming up with Desperado to hit a magic killer. Kanemaru tried for another roll up to get a near fall. Desperado was thrown into the exposed turnbuckle. This gave Kanemaru a chance to attempt a move, but Desperado was able to avoid this move. We couldn't really see what he was trying for us in the moment, but uh, this stopped Kanemaru from trying something and then allowed Desperado to lock in the stretch muffler once again to get the finish. This was a match where, like House of Torture, there were way too many interference spots and it was way too overbooked. But with that being said, the wrestling in it, I did enjoy. I really enjoyed the exchanges between these two. I think Kanemaru is pretty good in ring, and Desperado is also pretty great. So, part of me was hoping that there really would be no interferences in this match, and we could just see them go for 23 minutes like they did. But we had to have some interferences in there because I guess that's just what we do in every single House of Torture match. This was a match that the crowd in Korakuen Hall got into quite fairly. Korakuen Hall, as we know, is the type of venue where it's the most electric audience consistently for New Japan shows. So I feel like it's not a like the biggest statement to say that Korakuen Hall got really behind a match, but they really did get invested right until the end, and they were certainly happy with that babyface payoff of Desperado winning in the end. I can't say that I loved this match as much as the Korakuen Hall crowd did, but I enjoyed it. And I feel like it's too repetitive for me to say every time I see a House of Torture match, I hate this House of Torture match because it had the House of Torture stuff in it. Like, I always have to mention that I really do dislike how many times we're getting run-ins in House of Torture matches. But when moving past that, this was better than a lot of House of Torture matches that I've seen recently. This is not me saying that I want to see more matches in this style with all the House of Torture run-ins. However, Desperado Kanemaru put together a pretty solid main event level match here for a low stakes card. This is just a card to sort of keep things moving, like that Saturday show. Uh, and this was better than that Saturday show actually, where even though there were more title matches on that card a few days ago, this was a show where it was more enjoyable. It was, I think, a little shorter, more digestible. um, Once I finished watching this card, I didn't feel like I was exhausted of watching New Japan, and I was like, oh, I'm happy there's no card tomorrow or whatever. No, I was decently happy with this card once it finished. There was an angle that happened after this match. SHO, another member of House of Torture, did a run in on Desperado backstage, attacked him, did a beatdown. And I guess that means he's the next challenger for the junior heavyweight championship. The junior heavyweight championship seems to, outside of the BOSJ tournament, just be the belt where whoever is next to say they want it gets it. I mean, that's sort of been like a trope for forever now. I'm not too thrilled that we're going to see SHO against Desperado for the next junior heavyweight championship match, especially since we just saw Desperado in a House of Torture program. Even if the matches can be good, I'm just so sick of House of Torture. And ever since that program with Evil facing Sonata for the title a few months ago, I've just been like, I'm so sick of it being the main event. I'm okay with it being the mid card. I'm okay with it being lower in the evening. I'm okay with them being in tournaments, but just leave them out of the main event. Like there's only so many times you can do the same thing in the main event without just driving people, just making people livid about it. And I feel like I'm one of the people who's more charitable when it comes to tolerating House of Torture. I'm able to, there's some people I think have a zero tolerance for House of Torture where it's like when there's a House of Torture match, they're just immediately like, I'm not gonna enjoy this. I don't even want to watch this. For me, I do a match does take a House of Torture tax in the sense that if it's a House of Torture match, I already sort of know it's going to be docked points based off what I'm expecting to happen. But in matches like the one we saw on today's main event, I'm willing to at least say, all things considered, it was decent. We're going to run down the card, everything else that happened on the card now. But before we get to that, we have to get to something that happened at the very start of the evening, which was very confusing kind of and important to the development of this card. So this was sort of meant to be like a two match card in the sense that there was the main event and then there was also a match before it that was notable. It was going to be Master Wato in a singles bout against SHO. No real stipulation here, just a match between these two, which was put together. But plans changed at the start of the show when Master Wato came into the ring and announced he tore his ACL, which is a pretty major injury. I immediately was like, oh no, this is not good. He was out there on crutches. He was supposed to face Show in the co-main, as I mentioned. He said the injury would require surgery and he's gonna be away for a while. But then all of a sudden, I was so believing that this injury was real until something happened which made me question if it was. And it was that Show from House of Torture entered the ring and attacked Master Wato, targeting his injured leg. El Desperado made the save, getting Show out of the ring, but immediately I was just like, okay, I no longer believe that this is a real injury here. I was already duped last year with Yoshinobu Kanemaru suffering injury during a tag match, only to return and join House of Torture a few weeks later. I'm a little confused about what's happening here, though. If we run into another situation where Wato is faking out an injury to turn heel or do something, I'm gonna be I'm gonna be disappointed because they just did that a few months ago. So it's like, oh, you're just rehashing something you literally just did. But you know, I don't think that I'll have to wait and see. I mean, I haven't read any actual reports on this or anything, but um if you're getting attacked in the ring, I doubt that you have an ACL, a torn ACL. But and that would be kind of reckless of the promotion to put you in there like that. But um yeah, I don't know. I just don't know where they're going with that. It's one of those, I guess we'll have to wait and see things. But it was just weird. And I'm not too hurt that that happened, honestly, because I wasn't waiting with bated breath to see how Sho and Master Wato would do in a singles match. I would imagine that it would include a lot of House of Torture stuff, all the shenanigans that they usually do. I like Master Wato, but there was nothing in the match that really interested me. Okay, so we had a total of 6 matches that happened before the main event. We're going to run through them from the top to the bottom, going from the co-main event all the way down to the opener. The co-main event of the evening saw the team of Doki, Sanada, Taichi, Takamichinoku, and Yuya Uemura beat the team of Bushi, Hiromu Takahashi, Shingo Takagi, Tetsuya Naito, and Yota Tsuji. This is obviously to build up the rematch between Sanada and Naito, which is coming up. I really enjoyed this match. It was 11 minutes. It was, a short mid-card tag match, and it did follow that, you know, mid-card tag match formula that you expect. But I thought there was some really fun exchanges during this. There was a duel early in the match between Shingo and Taichi. Those two have a history of putting on stellar singles matches, so that exchange was really fun. We had Takahashi going up against Doki, the two main juniors in the match, having their moment. And then we had a really fun finish with planchas to the outside from 4 of the Just 5 Guys members, allowing Taichi to land a kick on Bushi to end the match. And we got a rare situation of Taichi scoring a pinfall victory in a tag match. So there was, and obviously I have some bias because I am a Taichi fan, but I did enjoy this match in general, start to finish. There was some fun exchanges during the match. Outside the ring, also there was duels between Yota Tsuji and Yuya Uemura, the two younger guys in these two factions who have a feud going on, sort of like a long-term feud, I guess I would say. I this is not one of those matches that's going to move a storyline forward too much, but it was enjoyable, and I thought it was a great sort of, out of all the tags, it was great to put that one in the highest spot because it just had the best performance. But obviously, it would also be in the highest spot because it's for the main title picture program that they're pushing. The match before that was Evil, Ren Narita, and Yujiro Takahashi beating Shota Umino, Tamatonga, and Togi Makabe. Nothing really to say about this match. 10 minutes. Ren Narita hit Makabe with a push-up bar while the referee was distracted to win the finish. Um, lame House of Torture finish, kind of run-of-the-mill match for them. Shota Umino continues his losing streak en route to his rematch against Ren Narita. Or not, I don't know if rematch is the word. They faced off before in singles matches, but this is like their singles match, which is coming up soon. I I really hope tomorrow the Umino wins against Narita because, as I've mentioned before, Shota is the most buried man in New Japan. He lost at Wrestle Kingdom. He's been losing recently against House of Torture. He is out of all the young guys that have been brought to the roster over the past few years, the one that has had the least amount of accomplishments. It's just sad to see him this way, and I hope that this singles program, which you don't see a ton of singles programs with him, this is one where he can come out on top because it would be nice to see him get some momentum for once. Because it really is weird to just see him as this guy who's on the roster and he's supposed to be seen as this big deal with all the other newish guys on the roster, but he just keeps not winning. It's very unfortunate, in my opinion. The fourth match saw Kosei Fujita, Mikey Nichols, Shane Haste, and Zack Sabre Jr. beat Hiroshi Tanahashi, Kazuchika Okada, Tomoaki Honma, and Tomohiro Ishii. I really enjoyed this match. This was like out of all the tag matches on here, the two that I really, really enjoyed were actually there was three odd. There's another one lower on the card, but out of the ones that I enjoyed, there was that co-main event match, and then there's the one here between TMDK and this collection of four guys, which is building up to the tag match happening tomorrow for the Never Openweight six-man tag team titles. Um, Fujita had a moment early on where his like toughness was really put over because Okada put him in the money clip, which notoriously is his submission move, which never really causes a finish. Fujita was able to endure this submission even after Okada took him out of the submission, hit him with a hard lariat, and then put him back in the money clip. Um, the finishing sequence was fun. Zack Sabre Jr. avoided a Kokeshi from Hanma off the second rope. And then he did his move where he places his feet on someone's head and twists their neck to the side. It was a fun way to counter the Kokeshi right after. He then put Hanma in a armbar for the finish. This is a fun match. It had that sort of extra oomph to it that you saw also on Saturday because of Okada having his departure from New Japan extremely soon. He's leaving in, just a few weeks now, considering we're almost at the end of January. So, there was a lot of focus on him from the crowd. Just like he did on Saturday after the match ended, he went back into the ring to wave to fans and got a big chant from them. His music hit, everything like that. Match before that, Chase Owens, Kenta, and Taiji Ishimori beat El Phantasmo, Hikuleo, and Jado. Kenta scored a roll-up pin on Jado to win in under 10 minutes. This is kind of a flat match, not much there. Francesco Akira, Great Okan, Henare, TJP, and Callum Newman, the United Empire five-man team, lost to Alex Coughlin, Clark Connors, David Finlay, Drilla Maloney, and Gabe Kidd. I think this is an identical matchup to what they did on Saturday's undercard, where it's the 5 versus 5 cage match lineup, except since Will Ospreay isn't there, he's being swapped out for Callum Newman. So this was I really enjoyed this match. It started as a brawl right off the bat. Um, there was just a lot going on here, and I think that if there's one thing that I like about this rivalry, it's that they're they know that to build up a cage match where it's gonna be 5 versus 5, these this really hectic, extreme Bullet Club team, you want to just show chaos in these matches, and I think that's really what they tried to do here. Just so much going on because this match went 11 minutes and there was just so much happening in it. The finish I thought was really clever. Connors and Maloney looked like they were going to do their spear double team finish on Francesco Akira, but TJP did a run in during their attempt on this move. He took out Clark Connors, and at the same time, Francesco Akira scored a roll up on Maloney to win the match. So I think that's a fun undercard match, and I'm really looking forward to that cage match. I don't know how that's gonna go, honestly. But it should be the upcoming cage match between those two factions should be a fun one, honestly. There's also a opening match between it was one of those matches where they mixed the young lions with wrestlers on the roster. Katsuya Murashima and Ryusuke Taguchi faced Shoma Kato and Yo. It was Taguchi and Murashima scoring the win as Taguchi caught Kato in a leg submission to finish the match in 8 minutes. There was actually a fun moment during that match where Kato and Yo teamed up. They had Taguchi in the ring, and they were sort of it was referenced on English commentary that it was like a drill you would see for wrestlers where they took turns just doing body slams on Taguchi one after the another. It was Yo would take a turn, Kato would take a turn over and over. So that was the opening match. That was the entire card that took place Tuesday at Korakuen Hall. We have some shows to uh, discuss for the coming days. It is kind of a quiet season for New Japan. We do have this second leg of the back-to-back happening tomorrow, but besides that, we're not going to have any televised cards until January 4th, or sorry, February 4th, which is more than a week from now. So we're going to run through those two lineups since those are the next two shows that we're going to be doing podcasts on. The two biggest matchups of tomorrow's card. The main event going to be a singles match between Shota Umino and Ren Narita. That's the match that we saw previewed earlier in the show with House of Torture and Narita winning. We're also going to have the Never Openweight six-man tag team championship match where it's Kazuchika Okada and Tomohiro Ishii and Hiroshi Tanahashi putting their belts on the line against Kosei Fujita, Mikey Nichols, and Shane Haste. You would have to assume that Okada, since he is leaving New Japan in only a few weeks, this is going to be a match where the titles will probably change. And it's going to be interesting because we're going to see someone like Kosei Fujita, who is a sort of a kind of young lion, almost not a young lion. I don't know where you would officially group him at this point, but he is someone who very early in his career is going to get this title run with Nichols and Haste, and that's an opportunity that I'm really happy for him to get because he's been fun to see on the roster. He's a great wrestler. He's really proven himself over the past year as he's been put in this TMDK excursion in a sense, and had a bigger spotlight put on him. I really enjoyed him, and I think that this will be a great opportunity for him if they win the belts. And I think this is the first piece of hardware that Nichols and Haste have won in ages. So, obviously the Never Openweight six-man titles are not a huge deal. They're some of the least important belts on the roster, but for those three guys, I think it is good to possibly give them that title victory tomorrow. So that's the most important stuff. Lower on the card, we have a lot of similar matches to what you saw today. We have United Empire versus Bullet Club once again in a 5 versus 5 match. We have a 6-man tag match with just 5 guys facing Los Ingobernables. And there's other stuff here. Wait, it looks like the Los Ingobernables and just 5 guys match doesn't actually include. Oh, okay. So there's two matches here, and one of them is actually a tag team match between Hiromu Takahashi and Tetsuya Naito and Doki and Sanada. And then lower on the card, there's also a tag match where Bushi, Shingo Takagi, and Yota Tsuji are facing Taichi, Takamichinoku, and Yuya Uemura. So it's interesting, like they're sort of splitting the storylines between those two factions in the two different matches on tomorrow's card. And then there's some stuff lower on the billing as well. And then the show, which is going to be on February 4th, which is also in Korakuen Hall, same venue that you saw today, you can see tomorrow. The headlining match for that is going to be Francesco Akira and TJP putting their IWGP Junior Heavyweight Tag Team Championships on the line against Clark Connors and Drilla Maloney. A repeat from what you saw at Wrestle Kingdom this year, where Catch 22 won the titles back, defeating the War Dogs. And then in smaller previews for the upcoming cage match, you're going to see David Finlay versus Callum Newman, Jeff Cobb versus Alex Coughlin, and Gabe Kidd versus Hinare. So that's a preview of what's sort of coming up. We're going to have another podcast on the blog here for you tomorrow, recapping the happenings on tomorrow's card. And then, later on in the week, maybe on the weekend, I'll have some written columns up on the blog as well. The way I'm trying to do it, and I explained it on the previous podcast, but the way I'm trying to do it is that the day of an event, right after it happens, I want to get these quick reaction pods out there. And then the days where there isn't an event are the days where I would try to see if that's like a day where I could put a written column out, because the writing part of the blog is still incredibly important to me. I would say it's still like the first priority to me, but I do want to mix these podcasts in as well. So if you enjoyed the podcast, make sure to give it a like if you're listening on YouTube, or if you're listening on Substack, make sure to share it or just share the link with a friend or something. If you are finding this through YouTube and you want to check out the blog, make sure to go to timelimit.substack.com. That's where you can find all of the written content and the entire catalog of podcasts as well. So we're going to be back tomorrow with a review of tomorrow's Korakuen Hall show, going over all the top events from that. But until then, I'll see you soon.